Welcome to episode 63 of the A Free Spirit Life podcast. Hey there, welcome. This is your host, Shannon Kinney-Duh. I'm a holistic life coach, intuitive human design energy guide, and an artist. And I am launching a summer mini-series called Radiant Awakening. The next several episodes will be all about igniting your authenticity, energizing your life, and unleashing your creative magic. Today, I'm introducing you to Heather Fischer-Page. Heather is an intuitive guide, cosmic visionary, a mentor of wellness and all good things. She's also a medium and a psychic, and today's conversation is so warm and inviting, and Heather really shows us that we all have a way to tune in to our psychic abilities, that we can connect to our guides and angels, and there are ways to develop our mediumship abilities. She talks about how she works with her clients to help connect to their guides and also mentoring them to hone their own skills for mediumship. She also shares her personal story about how these gifts were shut down at an early age, and she really started reawakening her ability to connect with spirit in the other side and all the intuitive gifts that she's here to share in her 20s and throughout her exploration of many different healing modalities. This is a beautiful conversation, and what I loved most about our time with Heather is that she reminds us that this kind of work is exciting and can be a joyful and lighthearted experience. So we talk today about how she's ignited and awakened her authenticity through connecting with her intuition and learning how to trust her intuitive hits, where her intuition has taken her, and where spirit has guided her throughout her journey, and what she's here to be of service for the world. It's so beautiful, and I'm really excited. So let's just hop right in. And I wanted to let you know that to learn more about Heather, you can go to her website, integraholisticwellness.com. And if you follow her on Instagram with that same name, she posts her sacred Sunday sessions there. These are free and they're online, and you can connect with Heather in a deeper way in this very safe container with other beautiful people who want to ask questions, who want to develop their psychic abilities, and who want to connect to spirit on the other side. What a beautiful gift from Heather. Enjoy the show. Hi, Heather. I am so excited for our conversation. I've been so looking forward to this because anytime you and I get a chance to just talk, I feel like I could talk to you for hours. So thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. I love our talks that we always have. So it's great to be on here with you.
Yes. Well, I would love for people who don't know what you do and who you are, if you could just introduce yourself and let us know a little bit more about the work that you do and what's kind of lighting you up these days.
Yeah. So, I do a lot of work in like wellness and lifestyle, but really have been focusing my energy around working with mediumship and psychic mediumship, and really enjoying that piece of it. It's been a part of me since I was born. So, but allowing that gift to really be awakened and living more authentically, and sharing that with people, because it is something that I do daily, and so being able to share that with others has been just an amazing I don't know, opening for me, if that's the right word, but it really has opened up a lot for me.
So, when you talk about how it's always been with you, can
Hmm.
you describe what you mean and explain kind of a little bit more about what mediumship or psychic
Hmm.
ability is and what did
Hmm.
it look like in your earlier days?
It's funny because I it really was reawakened in my 20s. And I'll give you a little backstory after that, around that, but it was awakened in my 20s. It was there when I was a child. Through EFT and doing some hypnotherapy, found out that it was there with me when I was a child, but I got punished for the knowing and, sharing these things with my parents. And I'm sure it shocked them. I've got the 51 in my chart, and I'm the right angle cross of penetration in human design. So, that's what I'm here to do, is give psychic insight, basically intuitive insight. But that was really shut down when I was a child because I did get in trouble for it. And so, but then I started seeing these things start happening, and it really got reawakened in my 20s. um, well, right out of college, I went to a Southern Baptist college, so that wasn't really a big thing. But as soon as I started living in the city, I was so drawn to the different shops, White Light and the other shops that we have. I can't remember. Vulcan's Forge is part
Mm.
of it now, but I would go in there and I would just pour over these books and just buy these books that, one was You Are Psychic, and, all these different things, and these crystals and astrology. And I just really pulled all of that in, the I Ching. And, I had a friend who introduced me to a lot of this information as well. And so it really was that reawakening of it. And, having those knowings and having psychic dreams, knowing um, just weird stuff that would then happen. And I do remember, it was around when I was 26 or 27 when a lot of that stuff really started kind of coming to me. And I saw my grandmother passed, and the night before she passed, I was in bed and I woke up, and I slept with the lights on because I was always I didn't understand. I mean, I had so much anxiety and didn't understand what was going on, and I think I was just sensing and feeling all these energies. But I saw my grandfather and my uncle Mo in my bedroom. And I saw them looking at me and then turn and walk out. And so that was really one of those times when I was like, oh, wow. But of course, because of my conditioning, I was like, oh, that's just a one off kind of thing. And so, but there were so many times when these little things were hitting and things would happen. Um, and so I, kept really, going to new age things. It was the 90s. And so new age was the word of that was and what you called it. And so I went to a lot of healing type of events, and started doing yoga and really pulling all of these pieces in that I was drawn to, that lit me up as a generator. And so, and doing astrology, talking to our local astrologer, Kwan, and really digging deep into a lot of that and trying to understand myself because I didn't know myself. And so that really brought it to me. I just remember, I was in the corporate jobs and things like that. And so a lot of that got shut down.
Yeah.
But I remember we moved into a house, and my daughter was probably, my oldest was probably about 2. And I started seeing, actually seeing the spirits in our house, and also hearing them. And we had a little girl that was stuck in the house. She would set off my daughter's toys and all of that stuff. So at that point, I called on a healer friend who helped me work, and there was actually a portal in the house. And so we closed that portal and then put, protection over the house.
Yeah.
So it was just very interesting. And so those abilities, that kind of scared me. And that was around the time of The Sixth Sense, if you remember that movie.
Yes, yes. I
And
see dead people. It's like could
yeah.
scare anybody. Yes.
And so, and that's not the Hollywood way is not the
That's
true
right.
vision of how things actually happen. I mean, yes, I was seeing these spirits walking through, but they never, touched me, or, like,
Yes.
I was having these experiences in this house, but it wasn't like, it was like in the movie. And what somebody actually told me was probably the little boy, because of anxiety, was actually self-harming. And was really what that was in that movie. So so a lot of that, I kind of shut it down, and but kept doing all of these still going to these amazing spiritual energy healers, working with a spiritualist at one point. So it was really, my training wheels were kind of on at that time,
Mhm.
but I'd kind of put up that wall because that scared me. And at some point, someone said, you can do it your way.
Mm.
You don't have to really, you don't have to allow them to show it themselves to you. You can put up these boundaries around it. And that's what I ended up doing, because, as we would go through things, I would experience different things like this. And, spirits don't have any sense of time. So they're just going to come whenever they decide to come. And so they'll come in the middle of the night and scare the heck out of you. So I put up a do not disturb. I'm like, I am available during the daytime hours. And if you want to talk to me, then you can come at that time, because if you don't, then I want to sleep, And so I started putting up these boundaries around my time with them and how they could approach me. And so I did a lot of that. And I also was helping friends, cleanse their houses. I would cross over spirits, shut any portals, whatever there was that needed to be done in that house. And so that was a kind of a big piece of what I did. And so these training wheels were on all in the background as I'm living my life, doing, everything else, working at
Being a
a
mom,
corporate, being a mom,
corporate. Yes.
working a corporate job, nobody
Right.
knew about any of that kind of stuff. And so it was just really, it felt like a kind of a hidden life. I always say I came out of the spiritual closet, because I did, and
Yes.
it was quite an awakening for a lot of people. They're like, I thought you were the choir mom. I thought you were, they had their labels of who I was, but I really was not living authentically to who I truly was. And, when you look at that from, that life purpose piece, and why you're sick and why you keep having inflammation and these things, it's because of resistance. And it's, I have a functional nutrition certification. And so I was eating a pristine diet, but still not feeling well. And it was because I was shutting down these gifts and these things that were part of me. And so when I stopped resisting, a lot of things shifted for me. But I still do all of my mind, body, spirit, and soul purpose work along with it. So I have my daily habits that I do. Yeah. So I haven't answered your question around what it is to be a psychic and medium yet, but that's kind of my backstory.
Well, this is so helpful, and we'll get to that. But what I'm seeing is, and what's so helpful for people listening is, when we hear or answer the call of our intuition and then we shut it down, it tends to come back, and it tends to get louder, or it tends to come in a different form. But from what you're sharing, it's like, okay, I'm going to shut this down. But then, you kept answering the call and then shutting down. But, it sounds to me, as you're coming out of that spiritual closet, you had these moments, these little trail of crumbs that continue. Like when you look back now, you can see you've painted that picture of kind of where you've come. And it's so helpful, because I think so often when we do this deep personal inner work, when we learn how to tune in to that intuition, and we hear stories like yours, we're like, wow, even someone who's now really living their life's purpose has had a long road to get there. And I just appreciate you sharing that. And so for you now, well, and also let's touch on that topic of, the word mediumship or psychic, as you described. I still, we've been taught to be afraid of that.
Yes.
And, my experience is, when I first had Reiki come into my life and started learning more about energy healing and energy work, there was a big talk about spirit and spirit guides and connecting to your guides. And I do remember being a little afraid until I learned those empowering tools of, I love what you said, like, I can do it my way, like the do not disturb, and learning that you can tap into your spirit guides, the ones who have your highest good at heart, the ones that, you are in control, and that you can have an empowered relationship with guides or angels, I think is really important. So let's, for those listening who are like, ooh, I want to know more, and I want to know how to awaken this, or reconnect to that place that I know I have the same ability. What would you say is psychic ability? What does that look like?
Psychic ability, I think, is more of the ability to kind of tap into somebody's timeline, tap into the future, if you will. I don't like prediction, because that's not really the way. I don't see that. That's not what I do. If somebody wants to come to me and, can you predict if I'm supposed to marry, so and so, that's not what I do. Right. Psychic for me is really giving that guidance to help people on their path. It is in the moment. Okay, you are here. Yes, I'm tapping into, that, yeah, I can see your guides, and this is what your guides are saying. Or if, oh yeah, I do see these could be your next steps if you want to follow those, and giving that type of guidance. And, and really it's pulling in all those different pieces and parts that, are part of our, education that we've done, like if you did life coaching or functional nutrition or human design or, Reiki or spiritual energy healing, whatever those pieces are, that's all pulling that in and giving them guidance in those ways, like sometimes I'll give guidance and I'll see a stone, or I'll hear a certain stone that they could start carrying to help them unlock something. So it's really that is that psychic piece. It's really kind of in the moment type of things that are happening.
I love that. And
Uh-huh.
the question I want to ask you is like, for you, when you're tuning in with
Mm-hmm.
someone,
Mm-hmm.
do you hear, do you see, do you sense, how does your hits, if you will, or I'm just curious if there's a way for you to describe it, because as you were explaining, you're kind of pull from
Mm-hmm.
this and this. I
Mm-hmm.
what it looks like for you.
Well, actually, it's pretty much all five.
Okay.
I'll get information. Yeah, it just kind of, I'll sense something. Sometimes it's sensing, sometimes I'll see in my mind's eye. Um, or I'll hear it. I'll get that just, like word. And like I had somebody in one of my Sacred Sunday sessions, and I'm like, I'm getting the number. They keep saying 8. They keep saying 8. And they're like, I don't know what the 8 means. And then as we kind of talked, they described something. I said, there's your 8. And so I'll do that. Sometimes I smell it.
Mhm.
It's all these different, I'll taste it,
Wow.
so it's all different pieces. Like when I first connected with Archangel Metatron, he's one of my guides. I smelled him. Well, first I sensed him in the room. I'm like, what is this huge being? And of course, coming at night, over my bed at 3 a.m, I didn't know, but then I started smelling him, and getting downloaded guidance. Sometimes I feel him when I feel his presence. So it's all I kind of tune into all of those pieces. And so it's like that heightened, everything gets very heightened at that point. And
Yes.
so,
That's
so it might be mom's apple pie that, comes, that I smell,
yeah.
or something like that. So it's really interesting. And, sometimes it comes in very slowly. It seems like when the mediumship work, when I'm working with someone who has crossed over, it comes in a little slower,
Mm.
and I'll get it. But then when the guides or the angels start talking, or source starts talking, it's like a gusher, and the information just whooshes through.
Mm.
And people will be taking notes, and they're like, can you slow down? And I'm like, I will ask the guide angel to slow down so that we can process it, because again, they don't understand. They are, time and space is, it's a
Right.
human construct. It's not, what is really out there in the multidimensional world. So
Yes.
it's very different.
You mentioned the word timeline, and
Mhm.
I think that would be something to describe. I'd love to
Mm,
hear when we're thinking through. I understand your
mm,
notion of like not predicting the future,
mhm,
but from my understanding is we have different timelines,
mhm,
and we also have free will or the ability
mhm,
to raise our vibration to find, which timeline we want to hop into. And
mm,
I'm
mhm.
curious from your perspective and experience with helping other people, like, how would you describe that?
Mm. It's really interesting, because it will, when I am tapping into somebody's timelines, it's a lot of times when I'm doing the life purpose work with them. And when I do it, it's looking at these scenarios. Basically, you
Yes.
can you could go and be a baker and make it on YouTube, or you could tap into this culinary arts where you're working in the garden and you're creating, and then I'll ask them which one they want to, hop onto, and we'll go through a visualization of it. And that's when and it's really spirit just flowing through and giving me that. Metatron is telling me to remember that he is real big part of the timelines. Um, but
So he's right now communicating to you.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And so, so so it's really that it's taking them through, and it's me just allowing it to show itself to me, and I will take the person through it and visualize it with them. And feel what, feel and sense all five senses of it, when they're in the room, whatever they're doing, if they are wanting to become a public speaker, and when they're in the room and, the people are starting to come in, and, just really taking them through all of that, and what the smell of the room, what does the room look like, all of those pieces to see how it feels for them. Mm-hmm. And so, really kind of setting that up for people. And so then, bringing them through that visualization so they can really embody it, really embody that feeling of what that would feel like to be on that timeline. And so, and then we see what comes up, because sometimes there might be, things that come up that we'll need to shift and work on, through doing, some light hypnotherapy or, work like that, and see where the blocks are so that they can be on their highest timeline, and raise their, if you want to call it vibration or upgrades, whatever word works for you, it's so that you can be on that path that feels right and lights you up,
Yes. I love the word embodiment. Embody is like one of my favorite words ever. And so, I feel that when you're talking, and sometimes I think, I'll do my visualization or I'll do my meditation each night, and I've been able to tune in, if you will, and connect with my spirit guides. And there's a trust that I've been able to open up and through practice and through understanding myself more and really feeling. And I think I used to discount what you're calling like downloads or channeling, and even the vision you're talking about of this timeline that I see. I have to ask myself, like, if I'm discounting that, like, where is it coming from? It's right. Coming from something. I have this idea, I have this desire, I have these things that keep nudging. Where is that coming from? And to allow that to flow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's so true, because, sometimes it's a whisper. It comes through as a whisper, sometimes it's such a subtle little thing. And, if we talk through human design, it's, the spleen has those little whispers, and you get it once, and so sometimes you can think, you can talk yourself out of it so easily.
Yes.
But, we're open to this quantum field of consciousness that is available to us. It's, we've got source, God, the divine, and we have this connection to this beautiful field of information. And so we just have to learn how to tap into it and learn how to connect really into that heart space, because when you're in your heart space, nothing else matters. It really is everything there.
Yes.
Because, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for those of you who have heard us kind of drop, human design, and know that if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, we've been talking about that. So you can go to other episodes. I just was on an interview because splenic authority is my
oh yeah
thing. And so I've had to really learn how to listen to those whispers, and they do feel like breadcrumbs in a way. I'm like, okay, you're telling me to go here, and I'm going here, and I've done this. And I think part of that heart space, or part of that learning to trust, is that it's non-linear, and it sometimes doesn't make sense to our mind, which I think is why we've been so conditioned to just discount it, because that when things don't make sense, it can feel quite scary, right? And so, but that heart space, I love that, learning how to tune into that. And so I know one of your excitements and passions right now is helping others reconnect to, remember, and reawaken their psychic ability, or ways to connect to that heart space. So for those beautiful listeners who are like, yes, I want to know more
Mm-hmm.
about, can I do this? Or is this like, outside of myself? Can I
Mm.
learn how to tune in? And what would you say to them?
Oh yeah, everyone has intuitive abilities. They're going to look different for every person. And that's a thing to remember. My abilities are not going to be the same as somebody else. Excuse me. Um and because we are all little pebbles on, this beach, and we need everybody's pebbles. And so the way that somebody connects in may be different than another person, and they may be more connected to, their spirit guides, or connected more to Jesus, or, the archangels. It's whatever the people are really drawn to. And that's what I really like helping people with, is because I connect in on so many levels, multidimensional levels. I connect in with um, the Arcturians, or the Pleiadians, or the Lemurians, and as well as Jesus, source, the angels, and also with people's guides. I can find that pebble, on the beach, and help guide people to connect with their guides, and really help them enhance those intuitive abilities. And we do, and a lot of the work is learning to be in our bodies first, and learning to really that embodiment piece. Because if we're not, then we're going to be, off, in our heads. And, as we know, we can't make decisions from our head, or our third eye, or throat, or ajna, head, ajna, throat. If you're looking at it from human design, we have to take it into our bodies. And so embodiment is a huge piece of that, that I do, and learning to ground into the body. Because and as somebody who lived in their sixth and seventh chakra for, most of their life, um, I know how important it is to be in your body so that you can do this work, because you have to be present. You can't be out here floating around, just like a bobblehead. You have to really be in your body. So I teach people how to be in their bodies. And I had an amazing, I did a 2-year energy healing certification. And the first year, it was all about being in our bodies, really working on, studying the chakra system, and from so many levels, and then also grounding ourselves in, and understanding how we were going to be a better healer if we were in our body, and when we were working on someone else. And so that was such a huge piece for me. And that's a piece that I really teach every client that comes. We even do it during the Sacred Sunday sessions, because I want everybody in their heart space. I want them grounded and in their heart space. And so we go through a quick, kind of grounding and connection meditation. And it's really more of a breathing exercise more than anything. And so that everybody is in their heart space, so that they're open to, hearing from their guides, or source, or from their, departed loved ones, whatever is their intention for being in that space. And then, of course, one-on-one clients, I do it with every time we go in, so that we're on that same wavelength, of unconditional love. So it's very helpful to do it.
I love that. One of the reasons why I do this podcast, and someone told me the other day, she just said that, you really help bring this stuff down to earth. And I love that, because You're so right. I mean, in fact, you're bringing back a memory. Years ago, I went to a
Mm-hmm.
woman, she does bioenergetics work, and she
Mm.
kind of, worked down to my legs, and she's like, you're supposed to be here. Like, you're safe to be here on earth. Like,
Mm.
I was so up here
Yes.
and always felt kind of like an alien. Like, what am I doing
Mm-hmm.
here? Right? None of this makes sense. And she
Uh-huh.
really just reminded me how important it is, and
Yes.
why I was so drawn to yoga in my early days,
Mm.
because it grounds me. It gets me
Mm-hmm.
here on this planet. It's like, yeah, I love all this stuff we're talking about, but we're still earthbound, right? We still want to use
Uh-huh.
what we're learning and connecting and growing
Uh-huh.
while we're here. And so what a beautiful
Yes.
gift. And I love the simplicity too, of like that simple reminder of how
Mm-hmm.
breathing brings us into that heart space,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so important because, because we are, and that's such a good point. We are spiritual beings in a physical body, and we have to be physically in our bodies and feel safe, really getting into that root chakra and feeling safe. One of the mantras that I use a lot when I am feeling a little ungrounded is, I am safe, all is well. Just reminding myself to get back into my body and
Yeah.
not slip out. Um, and so it's very, very important to do that.
Do you have a favorite routine or ritual or practice that you do daily or weekly that just
Mhm.
helps you stay in your body? Is
Mhm.
there anything that's particular for you?
Yeah, I have to. Mine has evolved over the course of the years. Just as more and more abilities have come to me, I've had to recalibrate my grounding exercise, and so I usually go back to the one that I learned in my spiritual energy healing classes, and it takes about 10 minutes because it gets you in deeply. Now, like when, coming on with you, I just did my quick grounding in and feeling my feet. If
Yeah.
I can't feel my feet, I know that I need to do the 10 minutes. But a lot of times I can just connect. And so for some people, it can be as easy as saying connect and feeling like a cord connecting you to the center of the earth.
Mm.
um and when I work with clients or in the Sacred Sunday session, our first thing we do is we connect with the earth star chakra, which is in the core of the earth. I mean, I pull them that deep in. Supposedly it's just, right down there, but I really take them down, and I work with Archangel Sandalphon, and Metatron work hand in hand together. And so I will pull us into that crystalline cave and really have people visualize getting the tree roots out of the bottom of their feet down into the cave, bringing that energy up through the chakras up to the heart. And then as soon as we're connected in, then I will connect them with the uh my brain just kind of took a little thing. Soul star chakra, and bringing that energy
Yeah.
down then into the heart, and then sealing all of that in together so that we are in the heart. But first, it always is that connection and feeling that connection with the earth. And I always tell people, especially if they aren't in their bodies, or they live much more up in their heads. When you are grounding, your feet might start hurting. It can have like a little aching feeling or a heaviness to it, and know that's telling you are finally in your body. And it can kind of
Mm.
feel a little uncomfortable at first, but knowing that, and then because it gets easier, and it's just really that you want that heaviness down in there where
Yeah.
where you are connected to
Yes.
the earth. So that's kind of what I do. But yeah, there are days when I do like the longer one, or I have to find different ways of going. And and every morning when I take the dog out, I go out barefoot. I don't have a fence, so the dog's on the leash and I am barefoot, and I take the dog out and I set the intention that I'm going to ground
Nice.
each morning. So that's kind of my morning ritual. Part of my morning ritual is taking the dog out barefoot if I can be bare. Of course, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it when there's snow on the ground. I'll connect inside the house, but yeah.
I
Uh,
love that. I'm reading a
uh,
really sweet book. It's just about forest bathing, but you know how much I love
mm,
nature. And it
yeah.
really, even that, like I'm in nature quite often. That's my grounding.
Hmm.
But how often we don't take our shoes off to really touch the
Yeah.
earth and connect to that electrical current, and how good it
Hmm.
is for us. And so as
Hmm.
much as we can to take our shoes off. And when you're in nature too, to think about like not just a destination, like to really,
Right.
a lot of times we go on a hike or a bike ride or